Talk a little bit about working with the legacy cast. Were you guys pinching yourself to have the OGs back with you?
You ready for this?
Never.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think, the movie wouldn't have worked if we didn't have them. Like, they're, such an iconic part of it. And they were so kind and so nice. And David was, like, especially welcoming and stayed in the same hotel that we were staying at and, let us borrow his red tricycle. And he, taught us all to paint in the style of Bob Ross. And so I think immediately we all sort of became like this little family. It was great.
Yeah. They were so lovely. I remember we had this dinner, our first big dinner together at our favorite Thai place over there in North Carolina. And it was kind of an emotional moment because they were talking about, how this really feels. It feels so much like, when they were shooting like the original, like the new cast together. And that was really heartwarming, and it felt amazing to be welcomed by them and like feel so included and be a part of something that we had so much respect for and we're such big fans of, with incredibly talented people that we looked up to.
Yeah. Hey, Jenna, I want to ask you something specific about this opening scene, right? It's like such an honor to be in the opening scene. Did you feel any pressure at all doing that opening scene, which you crushed, by the way, was so good, but did you feel any like living up to Drew Barrymore pressure?
This isn't funny, Amber.
Would you like to play a game, Tara?
Of course. Well, the thing about it is the Drew Barrymore Casey Becker scene is one of my favorite scenes of all time across the board in cinema. Also, it could not have been done more perfectly. So it's hard because I know that all the Scream films since have been sort of a reiteration or kind of a play on that scene. So it was kind of wanting to make this one somewhat different somehow, but also not seem like I was trying to rip anybody off. I could never do that. I wanted to make it my own, but I also wanted to make sure that the acknowledgement and respect for Drew and Wes and Kevin was there and done. And I know that people are very critical because that sets such a standard, it being the first scene of the franchise and it being so iconic that it's something that I think the Scream community critiques a lot and is very hardcore about. I just really didn't want to let anyone down.
Listen, I am the Scream community. I was born in the 80s. I came up on these films. You ain't letting nobody down. You guys rock this thing and you bring your whole new flavor. The new school cast of all you guys is what makes this movie shine.
There's certain rules to surviving.
The attacks were all on people related to the original killers.
We love our legacies, don't get me wrong, but you can easily mess up casting and they nailed it with you guys. I'm telling you, you guys were perfect in this thing. Tell me a little bit about shooting at Stu's house. I mean, as a fan, it was amazing to watch and see all these new people and these new circumstances taking place. What was that like for you? Let's start on the top with Sonia.
It was pretty crazy because I remember one day, I think it was on Halloween night, we were in the studio where the house was, and we watched the original, like the first film, and on a screen that was right next to the house. So we saw like the original house in the movie right next to the house that we were shooting it, and that was mind-blowing. And they did an incredible job at creating the house. It's gonna look super cool in the film.
I think it's the same dimensions and everything too. They went out and they measured the actual home because we couldn't shoot the original film was shot at. And we all got to visit that set, and it was really exciting to see and be around and know that that's what it was really like.
Hey, Jenna, that opening scene, I don't want to let this go. It was pretty violent. I don't want to give anything away. It was seemed like there were some stunts involved. Did you get injured at all? I mean, the way the scene plays, I felt like I was bruised after watching it. How was it for you?
I mean, there's videos on my phone. I had some of the biggest bruises of my life. I had this bruise on my hip that it looked like a tennis ball from the side because it was so swollen. I had matching bruises on each of my elbow bones, the ones that protrude right there. I had a couple on the side of my thigh, some on my knees, but that's what I like, getting bruised up when you do stunts like that, because you really gave it your all, and any reaction you have, if you do end up hurting yourself, it's authentic and real. And yeah, that stuff is fun.
Mickey, talk to me about I want to talk about the Bob Ross thing we mentioned at the beginning. So David gave you guys Bob Ross painting lessons. How does that happen? And then what is that experience like?
Yeah, it was so sweet and so unexpected, because I had no idea that you could become a certified Bob Ross painting instructor. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go and take a course for 3 weeks in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and you can become a instructor as well. So yeah, I bought a bunch of the kits, and then I invited everyone down. There's this little room that we'd all meet in. And then I set them all up and just taught them how to paint, and it was a really fun bonding experience. It happened right at the beginning. It was kind of like getting to know each other.
It was super kind and generous. He went out and bought these painting kits for us, and we all lined them up in this circle, and he just taught us how to paint this beautiful landscape. And yeah, it was so sweet and so kind and such a great bonding experience.
You guys really all seemed like a family on this set. I know with COVID and the protocols, everybody's in a bubble, but it's those moments that show up on screen, is that you guys are connected in all these scenes. And it probably started at the Bob Ross painting lesson, which is amazing. Now, you guys pay homage to Wes Craven kind of throughout this movie a couple of times. How important was that for all of you guys to be involved and kind of give a shout out and a nod to the man, the myth, the legend?
I think my biggest thing going into this movie was I was already a fan of Matt and Tyler, but I really loved and appreciated how much emphasis they put on honoring Wes, and that this film was for Wes, and they were such huge fans of Wes and of the franchise and of the film that it really felt like we're honoring him, and it's a love letter to the genre and to him and to Scream. And so that it felt like, okay, I feel like he would be proud of this. And I feel like we're all very proud of this film.
I mean, Wes Craven being the horror icon he is and leaving such an impact on the genre and film in general, I think to be a part of something like this, and especially without him for the first time, is really nerve-wracking, but also really exciting. Just because knowing that we all had so much respect for the work that he had done, and everybody was going in with the same effort, or everyone wanting to put their best foot forward and make someone proud. I think that it really gave us kind of the best possible outcome of the film, or just knowing that everyone tried and that love was there. I think that really affects the atmosphere on a set and really makes or break a film.